A listener warning. Please be advised that this episode contains content that may be disturbing to some listeners, including descriptions of violence and self-harm. Listener discretion is advised.
Life upon the wicked stage ain't ever what a girl supposes.
I'm Jen.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Olivia.
And we are, in fact, three different people.
This podcast focuses on true crime under the spotlight of arts and entertainment. So grab your beverage of choice and settle in.
Places, ladies.
Here's our episode. She touched it.
I'm going to touch it. I touched it.
She touched it. She just...
The record button,
Hey,
I touched it.
thanks for
the
warning us, though,
the
you know?
record button.
Yeah, she warned us, though, so that's good.
Well,
All I heard was, I'm going to touch it. You guys ready?
Yep. Yes.
listeners, we're coming at you off of a holiday weekend. We're recording this on a Monday afternoon because I just can't keep it together.
No, it's Memorial Day.
It's Memorial Day
so
weekend. Things were happening. Life was being lived.
Life was being lived. Well, since I didn't have any idea what today's episode was on.
I don't either. Rock asked me. I was like, I don't know.
I have no information. Yeah, I don't know anything,
Okay.
Jen. But what are the headlines?
June 16th, 1959, actress Phyllis Coates woke up around 4:30 a.m. to a very odd and jarring phone call. The person on the other end of the line was a woman named Tony Manix. She sounded very upset and cried out, "The boy is dead. He's been murdered." This kind of phone call would not have been out of the ordinary for Lois Lane, the character Coates played on TV, but not even an ace reporter like Lois could have imagined that Manix was referring to the death of George Reeves, the original Superman.
Wow.
So that's
Drama.
what we're talking about today. Right up front. There's so much drama.
The boy. She called him the boy?
Well,
That's
she
interesting.
did, and we will talk all about the reason she called him the boy.
Okay, because that sounded a little odd. Okay.
Yes, because to understand George Reeves' death, which was ruled a suicide, and I will say that right now.
Ruled a suicide.
Ruled a suicide, but as we know, sometimes that's not the case, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding it. You have to know about his life and his career before you get to his death. So we'll talk a little about that, and I have a couple extra little things to throw in at the end if there's time. If there isn't, you have to join our Patreon and listen to them there.
That's where all the best content is, in my opinion. All of our unhinged tirades.
Unleashed. We are
Unleashed.
Unleashed Floozies is on.
That's what it should be called.
Floozies Unleashed.
That's our
Floozies
after
Unleashed.
midnight.
Rebranding our Patreon.
Yeah.
This is Floozies Unleashed is our midnight
Unleashed.
frolic.
It's our
It's
midnight
on-
frolic. We're going to show our ankles. Watch out.
You want a glass floor where you can look up and that's it.
All right.
love it.
Are you ladies ready?
I am ready.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm so fresh.
So we'll start with George's early life. He was born on January 5th, 1914, as George Kiefer Brewer in Iowa. He was the son of Donald Carl Brewer and Helen Brewer. He was born 5 months into their marriage. Ooh, scandal. Right
So
from
as
the
my
start.
grandmother always said, the first baby can come at any time. The rest take 9 months.
Banging in the corn crib.
Banging in the cornfields. The couple separated soon after Reeves's birth, and reportedly he never saw his father again, his birth father.
Aw.
Later, they moved to California to stay with his mother's sister. We're not going to get into Helen, his mother, a lot. We could do a whole podcast on her and probably the mommy issues he had because she was
good.
crazy. But we're going to touch on it a little bit.
Okay.
In 1920, she met and married Frank Joseph Basello. And in 1927, when George was 13 years old, Frank Basello adopted him, and George took his stepfather's name, becoming George Basello. So that was his name for most of his life. That marriage lasted about 15 years, ending in divorce, with the couple separating while George was away visiting a relative. When he returned, his mother told him his stepfather had died by suicide, a gunshot wound to the head, which is important.
Oh my God.
Wait.
I don't. But again, what a move, and also like to I guess the assumption was like, well, we're never going to see him again, because what happens
right.
if, like, you run into him, like, I don't know, in town, like
Yeah.
elsewhere, like in Iowa? It's like, wait,
I thought you were
like,
dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I
he's like,
think
no? Like,
it
why
had
would you
to
think
do with the
that?
fact that George was very close to his stepfather. Like, they got along
Oh.
really, really well. And
even-
So
Mama
let's tell him
Helen
he
didn't
shot
like
himself
it.
in his head.
She wanted him on, like, her side because of, you know, the divorce, whatever.
There are
I
so
think
many,
that's why. Yeah.
There were so many other choices. Yeah, it's not even just like, oh, he died, or oh, he left, or like, no, killed himself. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think of anything worse she could have told him. And I'm
Right.
No.
Right.
coming up empty.
No.
Nope.
No, not
Wow,
even like a
Helen.
car accident. Like,
Right.
he
Helen.
shot himself in the head. And years later, when George was well into his career at this point, he found out that his stepfather was still alive.
This was my follow-up question. Did this ever, like, obviously
yeah.
we know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
did this come home to roost? Oh,
But he didn't know for years.
Years and years and years and years. Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. He and his mom had a bit of a interesting, volatile kind of
God.
relationship.
Oh, Helen.
Oh,
Already, just.
So, yes, we're not going to talk about her a whole lot more because, like I said, I could have done
That's
a whole
all
deep
we need
dive
to
on
know,
that
really.
woman.
That's-
Right?
yeah, I
Exactly.
think that says it all right
Says
there.
it all right
That's-
there, right?
Sets
Yeah.
the bar. Yeah.
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 Helen, all right.
So George was actually an amateur boxer for a while, and he really enjoyed it. He liked boxing. He also was acting, so he was doing both of those things. But his mother wanted him to be an actor, so she was afraid he was going to hurt his face because he had a pretty little face, and he did. So she allegedly paid a retired boxer to fight her son and tell him like he didn't have the chops, so he'd give up boxing and focus on acting. And he did. And he
I
stopped
can't.
boxing.
This mother.
This
Yep.
woman needs to be
This-
stopped.
Yeah, she
my
needs to be stopped.
God.
Thankfully, death did stop her because she was born a long time ago.
Not
but
soon enough.
Not
but-
soon enough.
Wow. So she just manipulated the hell out of his
Mm-hmm.
life and his reality.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely insane. So that's all for Helen until much later. But there she is.
So
Just
we're
a-
There's a wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's
like
a whole
rough
podcast on her. So Reeves studied acting at the Pasadena Playhouse, which is a huge. Everybody studied acting at the Pasadena Playhouse.
That's cool.
While he was there, he met his future wife, Eleanora Needles. They married in 1940. Reeves's film career began in 1939 when he was cast as Stuart Tarleton, one of Scarlett O'Hara's suitors in Gone with the Wind. It was a minor role,
Oh.
but he was in the film's opening scene as well as the barbecue at 12 Oaks.
I remember this because he's one of the redheaded
The redheads.
twins who were not in fact twins, but
Correct.
Yes,
But they did
and
have to dye their hair red because his hair is dark brown.
And they, spoiler alert, for Gone with the Wind, they died in the Battle of Gettysburg, and she
very
was
sad.
the Tarleton
Tarleton
brothers,
twins.
both of them, yeah,
Both of them gone.
both of them red.
Yeah. Yep. I know. And that's my
Excellent.
first introduction to George Reeves because my mom watched Gone with the Wind all the time. All the time. After Gone with the Wind was filmed, Reeves returned to the Pasadena Playhouse and was given the lead role in the play Pancho. This is important because this part directly led him to being contracted to Warner Brothers. There was a talent scout in the audience. They saw him and they said, sign that man. At Warner Brothers, they changed his last name to Reeves. And he became George Reeves. And his Gone with the Wind title credit or screen credit does reflect this. So this is a little interesting tidbit. Between the start of production of Gone with the Wind and its release a year later, several films on his Warner Brothers contract were made and released. So Gone with the Wind was his first film role, but his 5th film release.
That's
of the way
funny.
it works.
Just the timing.
Just the timing. Yeah.
So they're able to sneak his name change into the
In.
credits.
Yeah.
That's
Because there was
funny.
time. Yeah. Yeah. He
love it.
starred in a number of B pictures at Warner Brothers with people like former President Ronald Reagan and James Cagney. But these roles did little to advance his career. So he was released from his Warner Brothers contract, and he then signed with 20th Century Fox, but was released from that after just a handful of films. In 1942, he was cast as Lieutenant John Summers opposite Claudette Colbert in So Proudly We Hail, a war drama for Paramount Pictures. Paramount Pictures then signed Reeves up for 2 films a year.
All right.
It was a hit. He was a hit. He had a little momentum. But Reeves was so inspired by So Proudly We Hail, he put his budding acting career on hold and enlisted in the Army in 1943 because it was World War II and wanted to go off and fight. He was actually a little bummed because he did want to fight. Like, he wanted to do good. And he was assigned, because of his Hollywood connections, to the Army Air Force's first motion picture unit where he made training films. So he was kind of bummed because he was like, like, what did I come here for? Like, could have done this at home. Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
But,
Interesting.
Yeah. He was discharged at the war's end in 1945, and he returned to Hollywood. The director of So Proudly We Hail, Mark Sandrich, said that he had great plans for George Reeves once the war was over. He was like ready to make this kid a star. But Mark Sandrich died before anything could come of his promise.
Oh, what a bummer.
Yeah. So more and more time passed between acting jobs, and they were paying less and less. In 1950, he and Eleonora Needles, his wife, divorced when someone more financially secure swept her off her feet. Heartbroken, George refused to ever speak of her again.
She who must not be named.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all have one of those. But yeah. So she...
Don't we, though?
Don't we, though? George was heartbroken.
Oh.
Aw, George. Georgie.
By 1951, Reeves was reduced to walk-on parts in studio B-movies and digging cesspools. If you're not sure what a cesspool is, it is a
Not good.
septic tanks.
Yeah, not good.
That was
Oh
his
my
survival
God.
job.
Dug cesspools?
Somebody came to his house to dig a cesspool, and he was like, how much are you charging? And they said $100. And he goes, I can do it. And he did it himself. And then he started charging and started digging cesspools for people because you
I
can make
feel like-
$100 a day.
But the quintessential, like, being a ditch digger is actually better because ditches are, like, multi-purpose and usually just for, like, rainwater runoff. A cesspool implies
cesspool
that it's
digger.
for waste.
Yeah.
Like, what
Yeah.
a juxtaposition, though. It's like
Yeah.
movie star cesspool. Like,
Yeah.
what a-
Cesspool.
Yeah.
You could say Hollywood is a cesspool, and he's like, nay, I beg to differ. I've been in an actual cesspool.
Let me tell
and
you,
it's
would you
not-
like to come help me? Yeah. But at the time, there was a recession, so the studios were ditching even their big name stars to save money. So he was really, it was a bad time. So this poor man who was groomed for stardom in the early 40s when it was like very prosperous, and he really had something going for him until the war, you know, had every reason to believe he was now in the wrong line of business.
Oof.
And that's also, like, he's been in this line of work now for 10 years. And, you know, Jen, you're a professional actor, and I think you have had a degree of success, I will say, by many standards. You are you're a working
I'm a
actress.
working
This is your
actor.
career. But imagine you wanted to be a working actor, and just for a decade, all you heard was no, 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 to the point where it was going so poorly. It was like, I guess I'll shovel this shit
Oh, dig
because
some
no
Literal.
one
Yeah.
will have me. Like,
Yeah.
So would you call
As an
that his?
actor.
Would you call that his number 2 plan?
Yeah, I would. Well done. Well done. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I will
Slow
say,
clap.
like,
Thank you.
2 years ago, I didn't book a damn thing all year. And I was lucky because I have my hosting job.
Yeah.
So I'm still at least on camera. But I went a whole year and didn't book a thing.
But that was hard for you. Like, that
It
took an
was
emotional
really
toll.
hard.
1
It
year.
sucks. You
Yeah.
know, and there are other years where you book one thing, and then there's a year where you book 4 and you're a lead in
Right.
3 movies. Like, and it's great. But you never know.
It's
The showbiz.
A professional actor is truly, it's a business of rejection, and it is feast or famine, exactly
Yep.
what you're saying,
Yeah.
Jen.
Yep.
But famine for 10 years,
That's a
that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's
it's a
a
lot
maybe
to
I
know.
should change. It's
Correct.
interesting that he didn't change careers.
He didn't. But I think at this point he was about ready to. But then
Yeah.
he met Tony Manix, who took him under her wing, and everything started to change for him. So Tony Manix, if you remember, was the woman at the very beginning who called Phyllis Coates to say the boy is dead.
The boy is dead.
The boy. Yeah, the boy. Say more
The
about
boy.
that.
I'm interested in hearing why that. I know you're going to get to it.
Is she
Why the
Norma
boy?
Desmond? Is it
Well,
is it mad about the boy?
A little bit. Like,
The boy is dead.
Any
so,
laws against burying him in the garden?
we're going to get into Tony, and you're going to be like, oh, well, she kind of is. So Tony Manix was the wife of Metro Goldwyn Mayer general manager and fixer Eddie Manix. Now, if you remember, ladies, floozies, and anyone listening, when we talked about the Black Dahlia, Elizabeth Short, we
Yes.
talked about fixers.
The fixers.
Fixers were
Studio
alive
fixers.
and well in
Yep.
Hollywood. Tony Manix was a dark-haired, sensuous, fun-loving, adventurous, and well-endowed. I thought that was hilarious, so I kept it in.
Again, all of us.
Well-endowed and easy on the eyes,
Easy on the
baby.
eyes.
We're all a Tony Manix.
We're all Tony Manix. Tony,
Dark-haired and sensual.
I know.
Sensual.
Tony was a former Ziegfeld girl.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
All
Very cool.
this season.
I know. She met Eddie Manix when she had a key role in the Great Ziegfeld movie in 1936. So, for many years, she was content to just be squired around Hollywood on Eddie's arm as his trophy wife. And she was kind of, drawn to his money, his power. This is why she called George Reeves the boy. She was 8 years older than George.
Wait. Okay. Just
So
8 years.
he's a boy to her.
8 years, though, does not a
that's not that
cougar
much.
make. I'm sorry.
No.
It's
No, but she's also married. He's literally her boy
boy.
toy.
okay.
Wait, were they sleeping together?
Yes. George and Tony had a torrid long-term relationship, which was fully known to Eddie Manix
Oh.
because
Why
he had a
did he-
mistress of his own.
I was just
Okay.
going to ask, why did he allow it? But there you
Well,
have it. It's
There are a couple things. One, the casting couch was alive and well in Eddie's office, so he
Sure.
had
Okay.
more than
Okay.
one.
He had
but he
options,
had
yeah.
a long-term mistress as well. They very much had an open relationship, so
Oh.
much so that they would go out on double dates. George and Tony
No.
and Eddie and his mistress. It is said that George would go on vacation with the Manixes. Eddie and Tony were married. It was like a marriage of convenience. I think they stayed married because
it's a business
they liked the
relationship.
Business
power.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it sounded like to me.
We share some assets.
Eddie
and-
was
Right.
an asshole, but yes. Yeah.
But as
get into
a
it.
Okay.
lady, especially in Hollywood, and I don't know how old she is, but if she has already sort of seen herself as I am this older woman.
Over 35.
You're over 35.
Yeah.
Back
your-
then, too, in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's
that's-
like your value is then decreasing. It's what are you going to play the grandmother? What are you
Babe,
answering?
district
yeah.
attorney, driving Miss Daisy.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. So it's well, what else are you going to do as far as your lifestyle, your income? It's stay married to this guy, and he's letting you have
Yeah.
your fun. I mean, knock yourself
Exactly.
out. If that's working for you.
Exactly. It doesn't
you
bother
do you,
her
girl.
that she was in her 40s when they first started dating.
Okay. It's just a young
young-
woman.
Yeah. Tony was extremely possessive, quick to jealousy, and protective of the younger man, George, who is not as savvy in the ways of Tinseltown as she was.
So this really is Norma Desmond.
It very much is, and he returned her favors in kind. So he's giving her the love she wasn't getting from her much older husband, because Eddie was much older than her.
Oh, okay.
But Tony took care of George. Tony bought George Reeves expensive gifts, including a house
Okay.
in Benedict Canyon,
So she was a sugar mama.
a car.
Casual.
Oh yeah, and she took care of everything, including his career. She really kind of helped him get in the door because she knew people, because her husband knew people.
I mean, that's how the business kind of goes too.
It's who
even
you
if
know.
it's not you're in a a quid pro quo like this,
Yeah.
but so much of entertainment in particular, it's well, who do you know? I mean, I don't know. I'm also
Yep. So in 1951, in June of 1951, Reeves was offered the role of Superman in a new television series titled Adventures of Superman. He was initially reluctant to take the role because, like many actors of his time, he considered television unimportant and believed very few would see his work because not every home had a television. It was brand new. There were 3 channels. Also, this is a kids show. He's a serious
it was
actor.
looked at as a kids show?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Adventures of Superman is a kids show. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But beyond that, the half-hour shows were shot on tight schedules. So they made at least 2 shows every 6 days.
Whoa.
That's insane.
That's a lot. Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
The Adventures of Superman went on the air the following year, so 1952. And George Reeves was amazed at how quickly he became a national celebrity. Now, the term overnight success gets thrown about.
Yeah.
It
Sure.
wasn't obviously an overnight success, but people knew who he was overnight.
Like overnight.
Finally. Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, finally. Like finally an overnight success.
He's like,
Finally
I
an
go
overnight
with the
success.
wind.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
With the wind.
He was the lead and so proudly we hail, and then he went to save the country, but wasn't allowed. He had to make movies instead. So here's some interesting things about the Superman series, and they caused some turmoil with George. So the Superman cast had restrictive contracts preventing them from taking other work that might interfere with the series. So all of them had what was called a 30-day clause, which meant that the producers could demand their exclusive services for a new season on 4 weeks' notice. So that meant you couldn't have any long-term work on major films with long schedules or any other series that might lead to a lengthy run or anything like that, or any theater work that would have a lengthy run. You literally were kind of sitting
were
around
locked
waiting,
Just
Yeah.
waiting for the phone to ring.
and you were only getting paid for the weeks you were working.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That feels...
Yeah.
But
Again,
I feel like that's probably not uncommon back then, right?
No,
like
and
that's,
TV was
like
new.
Studios owned people. They
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before, he was famous, but he wasn't rich.
It still feels a little predatory, though, because it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you have to be available to us, but we're not going to pay you unless
Well,
we use you.
listen.
Like, that's...
right.
It hasn't changed all that much. You know, you get an audition and you get like a right to first refusal, and you're on hold for like a month
Right.
waiting, and then they
Yeah.
let you go, or
Yeah.
you just it sucks.
I've
You
seen
don't
that happen
know-
to you.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't know what your schedule's going to be at times. There needs to be a new way.
Yeah,
to do it.
As a sometime producer, producers do better.
Do better.
It's
It's doable. Like, do better.
like have a backup, have a plan B,
Right.
but don't hold people's livelihood hostage. Like if you want their
Yes.
time, you need to pay them for it.
You
Like,
need to pay them
that's
for
it.
their time, and also just like treat people like human beings.
What a concept!
What a concept.
What
Right?
a concept!
What a concept. Reeves was, however, able to leverage his new role as Superman and earn additional income by making personal appearances. And he really
Cute.
did good things. Like, he would go to hospitals and see sick kids as Superman. He would help charities as Superman. Yeah. So he really did do that. And he took his role as Superman really seriously. But
That's
he
really
also had to be careful. Much like Harry Houdini, when people saw Superman, they were like, "Oh, well, he's invulnerable. He's the strongest man alive.
You are
so
Superman."
I'm gonna."
They'd want to like punch him,
I'm gonna
kick him.
There's a story that a child pointed a loaded gun at him, and he talked the kid down and didn't say that he wasn't Superman. He said,
Oh.
now listen. It's not going to hurt me, but it could ricochet off of me and hurt somebody else. So I need you to give me the gun.
Oh my God.
Now, that's like a rumored story, so I don't know if it happened, but
Okay,
he
okay,
definitely did get
okay.
hit.
Still.
And that story is very popular, so it could have happened. But he didn't give up the fact that he was Superman. He was like, it's just going to hurt somebody else, so give
It's
me
like
the gun.
those jerks at the theme parks who like go
Yes.
run up and kick Winnie the Pooh in the knee or something.
I've gotten groped as the fountain more times than I want to.
Ew.
Jesus.
His affection for his young fans was so great that he took his role model status extremely seriously. So he was a smoker.
That's sweet.
And he was a drinker. But he would not drink or smoke in public because he was Superman. And he didn't want
Aw.
those kids to see it. I thought that was really
So the
yes.
whole
I think George Reeves really took it seriously when he realized how much the kids loved him because he
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, they need me. Like, they need me to be Superman. But still, as a creative, if I was playing a superhero on a TV show, I would love it. Let's say I was playing Wonder Woman. Because
Wonder Woman. I know. Here we go. This is Jen's Roman Empire.
Right. Let's say I was. I'd still probably be pretty disappointed that I wasn't doing quote unquote serious acting.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure.
That makes sense.
I wasn't getting to do Shakespeare. I wasn't getting to do, Sophie's Choice, right?
Yeah. Especially when that is your passion.
Correct. And this is a way to make money. It's like right now, I love my hosting jobs. They're wonderful. I'm so grateful. I'm so fortunate. That's not what I set out to do.
Right.
If I had the choice, I'd be making movies all the time. That's what I would be doing,
Yep.
So, he also, to keep his role model status and his image as Superman squeaky clean, kept his private life discreet when making official appearances, especially because his relationship was with a married woman.
Right. Good old Tony.
So she never came with him to official Superman appearances or anything like that. Yeah. But other than official appearances, Tony and Reeves were very public with their arrangement. But the press, out of respect and the clout that Eddie Manix had, never exposed the relationship outside of the industry. So the public didn't know that they were having this long-term
But the people in the
affair.
industry knew.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That I don't know that would especially in our era of social media and just being in a surveillance state where it's there's just cameras everywhere.
Agreed. Yeah.
You could never do that today. Where
Nope.
it's
Nope.
the insiders know, but Joe Q public is totally in the dark.
Right.
I think it's virtually impossible now.
Nope. Now they have drones flying over their backyards
Yeah, they
to
would.
catch what
Absolutely.
they're doing. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Between the first and second seasons of Superman, George got sporadic acting assignments in one-shot TV anthology programs and 2 feature films. But by the time the series was airing nationwide, he found himself so closely associated with the characters of Superman and Clark Kent that it was difficult for him to book roles, which is what the Superman curse is all about. And many, many, many people that have played Superman have dealt with the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. In 1953, for example, Reeves played a minor character, Sergeant Malin Stark, in From Here to Eternity. Very famous film. It won the Academy Award for Best Picture, so Reeves actually has the distinction of being in 2 movies that won Best Picture, because he was in Gone with the Wind as well.
Yeah.
But his role was cut drastically because when they showed the film to test audiences and he came on the screen, everybody kept yelling, "Look, it's Superman!"
Oh.
So the studios were like,
Yeah.
gotta cut his stuff down.
It's like how being Norman Bates ruined Anthony Perkins' career.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're like, that boy killed his
It's
mother.
the guy from Psycho. Yeah.
He's like,
yeah.
I was a matinee idol until 4 seconds ago.
Yeah.
There's a Psycho tie-in in a little bit, by the way, Ashley. You're gonna be really excited about it. Yep.
Anthony.
So George Reeves was living not a double life, but he had his private life and then he had his public persona as Superman.
Yes.
But unfortunately, like Anthony Perkins, he was having a hard time being seen as anything but Superman.
As anything but Superman. And after 2 seasons, Reeves decided not to renew his contract and left the show. After 2 seasons.
2 seasons?
That was fast.
Well,
Wait.
he was frustrated with his low salary, the one-dimensional nature of his character, and how associating himself with Superman had kind of ruined his credibility as a dramatic actor. At 40 years old, he was also feeling uncomfortable playing such an intensely physical role because he did all his own stunts. There weren't stuntmen for him.
yeah.
He's jumping out windows.
He's
on
like,
the
these
mats and,
knees, kids.
Yeah.
These knees are not going to
So
be
it's
able to.
My hip flexors hurt. Yeah.
Also, random note, his costume wasn't spandex because spandex wasn't a thing yet. It was wool.
Oh shit. I
so
knew
you know.
spandex wasn't a thing, but wool.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
That's
He's like, what's faster than a speeding bullet? My arthritis.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah. It was tough for him. So,
basically just wearing a big sock.
yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
big,
Yeah, a
imagine?
big sock.
Yeah.
Ugh, yuck.
Eager to jumpstart his failing career, Reeves established his own production company and conceived a TV adventure series called Port of Entry, and he even wrote the pilot script himself. But
Oh, George, good for you,
know.
buddy.
He was never able to gain financing for Port of Entry, and the show was never made.
Aw.
The producers of Superman, unable to find a suitable replacement, lured him back to the show with a
Okay.
major salary increase.
There we go.
At least they threw some money at him. My God.
Yeah.
So-
yeah.
He was reportedly making $5,000 a week, which in today's money is about $59,000 a week.
Much better.
Before or after?
After.
Okay, that was the okay.
That was
Yeah,
the huge pay jump. $59,000 a week, but only while the show was in production. So about 8 weeks a year.
But even so, I was just gonna say, even if that's 3 weeks, that's still $150,000 in
He's doing
today's
good. Like, he's doing
money.
fine.
Yeah.
That's
He's not
more
making
than
Clark
a-
Gable money, but he's
Right.
making good money.
I'm just thinking how like Friends made like a million and a
million
half
per
each
show.
an episode or
He's-
something. Yeah.
This is better than cesspool money.
It's better than cesspool money. It's better than
Olivia
$100 a
almost did a-
cesspool.
I almost spit.
Well
my
done.
water.
She tries to do that
Well,
to you
it's-
all the time. So
Better than the cesspool.
Retribution.
That's true.
A near spit take. Yeah.
yeah. So he appeared as Superman on I Love Lucy, which is one of my very favorite episodes. It's episode number
That's
166, Lucy and Superman, in
So-
1957.
Was the episode? Did he appear as the man playing Superman,
No.
or is it like really Superman?
Okay. So in the episode, Ricky, for little Ricky's birthday, gets
Yeah.
George Reeves to come to the party as Superman. Something happens and they're not sure if he's going to be able to show up. So Lucy decides to dress up as Superman.
That's right.
Because she doesn't want her son to be disappointed. And she gets like stuck out on the ledge of their apartment. And George Reeves, Superman,
Comes and saves her.
flies, comes and saves her. And
Very
it's like raining
cute.
outside. There's a pigeon that lands on her head. It's one of my very favorite episodes. And there's a great picture of her in the drive. We can put it on social where she's looking at him, and it's just she's like so in love with George Reeves, and who wouldn't be? He was a good-looking
Who
guy.
wouldn't be? And what a network TV cameo.
Yeah.
Again, talking about how it's like, okay, there's like 3 channels, like 3 stations.
Yeah.
And then to have like, okay, and I have to assume maybe this was one of like the first or certainly early like cameo or like crossover. Where
Right,
it's
the
like,
TV crossovers.
Yeah.
His good friend Bill Walsh, who was a producer at Walt Disney Studios, gave George a prominent role in Westward Ho! The Wagons in 1956.
Oh.
In which Reeves wore a beard and a mustache so he couldn't be recognized.
He's like, please.
Yeah.
To like wear a disguise so they don't
Basically,
see that it's
my
him.
talent.
Yeah.
And people weren't like, Superman.
Oh.
Yeah. And Westward Ho! The Wagons would be his final film appearance in 1956.
Wow.
So, back to his personal life, because here's the thing. It's all interwoven. In late 1959, Tony's fear that she might eventually lose the most eligible bachelor in Hollywood came to light. It finally happened. George Reeves met a woman named Leonora Lemon in New York City.
Who are these women? They
Wait
sound,
a minute.
They sound
Yeah.
fake.
Yeah,
know,
it's
right?
like it's like Lois Lane and Leonora
Leonora
Lemon.
Lemon. I know 2 LLs,
and
right?
Eleanor Needles. Like, what is going on?
Names, I'm telling you. George had to
This
change
is-
his, but these
This is from the Superman comics.
I
Like, are
know.
you kidding?
I know.
These are like, I get wrong franchise, but it's like, these are like Marvel characters.
They
Like,
are.
these comic-
Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
know.
Leonora Lemon. It was like,
Leonora
sure,
Lemon.
honey. Like,
Yeah. So little is known about Leonora's background. She was a member of the so-called Cafe Society. They were publicity hounds who wanted to be seen and photographed and written up in the society and gossip columns. That's what the Cafe Society was, and that's what she did. She didn't
like
have a
an
job. She didn't do anything. She wanted, and you can look at pictures. There are pictures of Leonora in the drive as well. She doesn't
need
look
to
like a
find
very
this woman.
pleasant person.
No, she has a
Oh,
like
yeah.
Madame Leonora. I think is
Yeah.
kind of the direction I would go.
Yeah.
She has crazy eyes. I'm sorry.
She
Yeah.
really does.
She's.
So,
I can see from here. Even this woman
Yeah.
is dead, but from the grave, I can tell she was nuts.
yeah, right?
And the way she's, listeners will post this, but
Yeah.
she is holding his
Holding him.
hand in like a
In a
death,
death
grip.
grip.
Yes, like she's like, he is mine.
I have Superman.
Yeah. And
Oh,
Tony
no.
was lovely. Like Tony in the movie Hollywoodland, which is very much about this, is played by Diane Lane. I mean, and that's kind of Tony's very like beautiful. So watch that movie. It's very good. Ben Affleck is amazing as George Reeves. He's really, really, really
Hollywoodland. Okay. I haven't watched
Leonora
that one.
Lemon is scaring me,
Yeah.
whereas I feel like Tony
Leonora
is...
Lemon scares me too, honestly. Yeah. So she and George became involved, and once that happened, she proved to be as possessive, protective, and jealous as Tony, if not more so.
The hand grip.
The hand grip.
Just,
yeah.
We're going to zoom in on it. Just,
Zoom in.
I love you so much.
But it's also, it's like the glazed look on that. It's like, don't ever leave me.
And he's smiling. Like, he has such a genuine, like, smile
He has
on
no
his
idea.
face.
Oh, he has
and
no
she
idea.
is just not.
Yeah.
I mean, her face, it's just, anyway.
It's...
Nonetheless, Reeves apparently loved her, and he broke off his relationship with Tony.
I mean...
Leonora, very soon after, moved into the Benedict Canyon house that Tony had bought for George. It's George's house, but Tony bought it. So it's a little messy. It wasn't a big house. It was very modest, like Cape Cod house, but it was his, but Tony bought it for him. So, and she
okay.
lived there. Tony, by the way, lived there with him a lot. Like they played house, kind of. I mean, she was married to Eddie, but she kind of lived there.
But she's like, I'm going to stay here this week kind of thing, kind of camping out.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
So Tony was absolutely heartbroken. She sequestered herself at home. She cried for weeks and apparently, allegedly, phoned George up to 20 times a day.
Whoa.
Would
Tony.
breathe
We
on
need
the
a
other end of the
Tony.
line and then hang up.
Tony girl. Oh. Okay.
Tony,
so
honey, no.
the whole class.
We've got Norma Desmond on one hand, and then we also have Glenn Close, a la Fatal Attraction.
On the other hand,
There's a lot
she's a
happening
very
here.
versatile performer, you know?
This is...
Yeah.
George, you in danger, girl.
You
Like,
in danger. Well, yes,
Listen,
he is.
he doesn't have a good judge of female character at this
I
point.
was also
so.
Also, like, I mean, not to victim shame, but George, how are you choosing these women, my dude?
know.
Because it's
I know.
not
He's like,
great.
do I feel slightly unsafe and
Yes.
I can't trust them? Perfect.
Perfect.
That's
Sign
what I'm
me up.
used to.
Move in. Thanks.
Well, I'll
I'm
say,
a little bit in danger. Yes, that's what I know.
and going backwards, maybe like mommy issues? Question mark. Because he's
Uh-huh.
like, well, my mom was insane.
Correct.
So it's like, this is what I'm
and
familiar with.
overbearing and yeah.
Yep.
Women
Yep.
who love me, I'll have crazy eyes.
Exactly. Oh my God.
If she calls me less than 20 times a day, it's not love.
It's not
I
love.
don't think she loves me.
It's not love. 19 times? How dare you? It's not love.
God.
Lemon, on the other hand, was upset that George couldn't keep up the lavish lifestyle in which Tony had provided him. George was famous, extremely famous, but he was not rich. And he did complain to his friends about financial trouble. So I think he tried to keep up the lavish lifestyle and couldn't. Because of all of this, you know, the financial trouble and the fact that, you know, Lemon is unhappy and he has no prospects of new roles coming his way because he's stuck in this typecast of Superman.
And he's 40.
And
oh,
he's
no.
40.
He's on death's door.
The boy who's 40. Sorry.
But Superman was still very popular and they wanted to do another season. So they lured him in. He signed
So this is
again.
now season, what, 4? 5?
6.
6. Okay.
I believe
All
it's
right.
season 6.
Okay.
And they were going to give him another pay bump. And they were going to allow him to direct. And he was excited about that.
Oh,
He had directed
okay.
a few episodes before, but they were going to allow him to direct like a lot this time. So he signed on for 26
Nice.
episodes that were meant to go in production. So by mid-1959, contracts were signed, costumes were refitted, and the writers were assigned. So it was
The
happening.
wool was cut and ready to
Was
slip
cut and
into.
Ready to go. He's ready to go. Apparently, there are some conflicting reports, and we will get into those. Lemon and Reeves were reportedly set to wed on June 19th, 1959. It was only 6 months into their relationship.
I was going to say, this feels fast considering how long he breaks up with Tony. And
After
then
like
he's
10 years. They were together for like a decade. Basically.
Yes.
Yeah. It's reported that that was the case, but some people say that it wasn't. I did some digging. I didn't see any report of it anywhere. And I kind of feel like it would have been reported that George Reeves is getting married.
So there's stories that they were, but it's not, it's
Correct.
Unconfirmed.
And again, I couldn't find this either, but there was a report that there was a like tabloid that said that the wedding was off. So they were also said that like they had broken up. So there's some interesting stuff going on with Lemon and George. So we're going to get into it because now we are at...
Oh, Lemon.
Oh, Lemon. Hey friends, Jen here, and we hope you're enjoying this episode of Life Upon the Wicked Stage. Just a few quick reminders. If you're looking for any of the visuals that we've mentioned in this or any episode of the podcast, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Wicked Stage Pod or Facebook at Life Upon the Wicked Stage. If you want more, please join our Patreon by searching the Wicked Stage Podcast. There you'll find ad-free episodes, videos of our recordings, mini-sodes, behind-the-scenes content, giveaways, and so much more. And the most important side note, if you like the show, please give us a nice rating wherever you listen. It sounds silly, but it's still the best way to get the word out and support us in this crazy podcast world. Well, lights are blinking, intermission's over, so grab those snacks and another drink and enjoy the rest of the show.